Following the breakout success of Saw, it was no surprise that Saw 2 was swiftly greenlit. Fans were hungry to dive deeper into the twisted philosophy of Jigsaw, and the sequel delivered a fresh batch of victims, traps, and moral dilemmas that expanded the killer's warped worldview. The film raises the stakes with a larger cast and more brutal, creatively sadistic traps, each one designed not just to punish, but to provoke. Yet, despite the escalation in danger, Saw 2 cleverly retains the franchise's signature intimacy, a confined setting, and a ticking clock that keeps the tension razor sharp. Where the first film focused on two characters and their psychological unraveling, Saw 2 introduces a house full of strangers, each with a secret. While this ensemble approach adds intrigue, it also dilutes emotional investment. With limited time to explore each character's backstory, viewers are left guessing who to root for, or whether anyone deserves to survive at all. The ending twist, a hallmark of the franchise, is present and satisfying, but lacks the seismic impact of the original's jaw-dropping finale. It's clever, yes, but not quite legendary. But beneath all the blood and traps, Saw 2 hides a treasure trove of secrets that reward repeat viewings. From blink and you'll miss it clues foreshadowing the twist, to real-life production quirks and clever editing tricks that mask the truth in plain sight, the film is riddled with fun facts and shocking details that many fans missed the first time around. Whether you're a die-hard Jigsaw disciple or just curious how far the rabbit hole goes, this breakdown will make you see Saw 2 in a whole new light. So join along in this deep dive and let the dissection begin. To keep the twist ending of the movie a secret, the filmmakers didn't give most of the cast the final 25 pages of the script. That meant many actors didn't know how the story would end, or what fate awaited their characters. Only the few key actors who were directly involved in the final scenes were told what would happen. This helped prevent spoilers from leaking and also made the performances more authentic, since the actors were reacting to events without knowing the full picture, just like their characters trapped in Jigsaw's deadly game. To protect the surprise ending, the filmmakers went the extra mile by shooting 5 different versions of the final scenes. This meant they filmed multiple outcomes, each with a different twist or resolution, so even the cast and crew who were involved in these scenes weren't sure which one would be used. Doing this kept the mystery alive, making the final reveal even more impactful for audiences. However, these alternate endings were never publicly released or detailed, even on director's cuts or DVD extras. Unlike later Saw films that sometimes included alternate endings as bonus content, Saw 2 kept its unused endings completely secret. Fans have speculated for years about what those endings might have shown, but no confirmed descriptions have ever surfaced. The infamous needle pit trap was one of the most disturbing scenes in the film, and creating it was a massive task. The crew used over 120,000 fake syringes to fill the pit, but to keep the actress safe, 4 people spent 4 full days replacing every sharp needle tip with soft fiber ones. To make the syringes look more realistic and behave like a slippery pile of medical waste, they added gelatin and a bit of water, which helped the syringes slide around and stick together in a gooey, unsettling way, perfect for the grim tone of the trap. Additionally, the filming crew had initially planned to have many more syringes in the pit, so they would reach up to Amanda's neck. However, this idea was removed from the script, as it would have been too difficult for her to move around. Furthermore, during the filming of the scene, a handful of real needles fell into the pit, which caused the crew to stop shooting and find the needles before they could resume, meaning they were literally searching for needles in a needle pit. Also, in the moment after Amanda gets out of the pit and Daniel is taking the syringes out of her arm, the crew used a fake animatronic arm. Finally, though viewers may believe that the hidden key in the pit would lead to the exit, director Darren Lynn Bousman confirmed in the commentary that it would reveal 2 more syringes containing the antidote. The filmmakers needed to bring back the iconic bathroom from the first movie, which was a key location in the original story. However, the original set had been taken down after filming the first Saw part, so they had to rebuild it from scratch. This meant carefully recreating every detail, from the grimy tiles and broken fixtures to the eerie lighting and layout, so that it looked exactly like the original. The goal was to make fans feel like they were stepping back into the same terrifying space, keeping the continuity strong and the atmosphere just as unsettling. Actress Shawnee Smith, who played Amanda, was secretly pregnant during filming, but she didn't tell anyone on set, not even the director Darren Lynn Bousman. She managed to keep it hidden throughout the intense shoot, which included physically demanding scenes. The secret finally slipped out during a casual lunch break when her young daughter innocently mentioned it to Bousman. He was the only one told, and the crew continued filming without making a big deal of it. Shawnee's dedication and ability to perform under pressure added even more respect to her role in the film. Director Darren Lynn Bousman secretly appears in a small but memorable moment in the movie as the hooded figure who puts the key into Michael's eye in the opening sequence. He stepped into the role to keep the shot controlled and private, using costume and camera angles to hide his face, and the brief, unseen nature of the action made it an efficient way for the director to be part of a tense, practical effect without distracting from the scene or the actors. The filmmakers shot every interior scene for Saw 2 inside a single building, and constructed the movie's different rooms and locations on sets under one roof to save time and keep everything efficient. The shoot was completed in 25 days, which pushed the crew to work fast and plan carefully. One small example of the set reuse is the hallway Detective Matthews walks down to pick up his son at the security guard's office, which was actually a crew dressing room repurposed and dressed for the camera, so it looked like part of the film's world. Before Saw 2 was even part of the franchise, director Darren Lynn Bousman had written a script called The Desperate, which was so intense and violent that many producers rejected it, calling it too Saw-ish, even though it wasn't connected to Saw at the time. But after the first Saw movie got great reviews at Sundance and looked like it might become a hit, Bousman showed the script to director of photography David Armstrong, as they both worked on the first Saw movie. Armstrong then contacted producer Greg Hoffman, who saw potential in Bousman's script and wanted to use it to build on Saw's success. His fellow producers, Mark Berg and Orrin Cools, agreed and suggested turning The Desperate into Saw 2. To make sure it fit the world of Jigsaw and the original film, they brought back Lee Wannell, the writer of the first Saw, to help reshape Bousman's story into a proper sequel. That's how Saw 2 was born, from a rejected idea into a major chapter of the franchise. And in the first week of its DVD release, it sold over 3 million units, making it Lionsgate's fastest-selling DVD in the US and Canada. This was the highest-grossing Saw film, and was Darren Lynn Bousman's directorial debut, as he would go on to direct the next two entries in the series, Saw 3 and Saw 4, and would return to direct Spiral from the Book of Saw. Additionally, this was producer Greg Hoffman's final film, as he died unexpectedly in December 2005. When the movie was being promoted, the original posters showed 2 severed fingers to represent the sequel, but the MPAA considered it too graphic and didn't follow their rules for public advertisements. So the posters had to be pulled and redesigned to make the image less disturbing and more subtle. On top of that, the early posters also listed the movie as rated R, even though it hadn't officially been reviewed by the MPAA yet. This caused another issue, since movies aren't allowed to advertise a rating before it's been confirmed. The scene where Xavier snaps back at Addison was kept loose to allow the actor, Frankie G, to improvise his lines. According to the DVD commentary, each take featured a different version of the insult, and they got more vulgar and intense as filming went on. The crew listened to all the variations and eventually chose the line,
"The only door you know how to open is between your legs,"
because they felt it was the smartest and funniest. It delivered the sting without being too crude, and fit Xavier's aggressive personality while keeping the moment sharp and memorable. The role of Xavier went through a few casting changes before landing on Frankie G. Originally, Henry Rollins was chosen for the part, but scheduling conflicts forced him to drop out. Lyric Bent also auditioned for Xavier, but the filmmakers didn't want to risk typecasting an African-American actor as a drug dealer, so they offered him the smaller role of Officer Rigg instead. Although Bent was initially disappointed, it turned out to be a lucky break. Director Darren Lynn Bousman gave him creative freedom to shape Rigg's personality, and the character grew in importance, eventually becoming a lead in Saw 4. So what started as a setback became a major opportunity. On the podcast of Hi Everybody, A Bad Medicine, the hosts, who are real doctors, used the human centipede first sequence as a humorous baseline for medical accuracy, since it was famously marketed as 100% medically accurate. In one episode, however, they rated Saw 2 as 500% medically accurate, meaning they found it to be 5 times more realistic in terms of how the body works and how medical procedures are portrayed. It's a tongue-in-cheek way to highlight that. Despite its horror elements, Saw 2 actually gets a surprising amount of medical detail right. The razor box trap, where Addison reaches into a glass box filled with blades to grab a syringe, actually has a hidden way out. A padlock with a key already in it placed at the top of the box. Though it's blurry and easy to miss on screen, the filmmakers included it on purpose to show how Jigsaw's traps often have simple solutions that go unnoticed. The idea was that the characters, driven by panic and desperation, would act without thinking things through. By hiding the key in plain sight, the scene highlights Jigsaw's twisted lesson that survival often requires calm thinking, not reckless action. In the final moments, Xavier is desperate to find the number tattooed on the back of his own neck, so he gruesomely cuts off a piece of his skin to get it. Originally, the script had him simply throw the skin away after the act, but actor Frankie G decided to put the bloody piece in his pocket instead. The crew found this move so clever and chilling that they decided to keep it in the final cut, as it added an extra layer of intensity to Xavier's character, showing how focused and ruthless he had become, and made the scene even more disturbing and memorable. The movie originally included much more backstory for the characters trapped in Jigsaw's game, but most of it was cut to keep the film's pace tight and focused. According to the DVD commentary, Addison was a prostitute, a detail only hinted at in the final cut but confirmed in Saw 4, where she's seen trying to seduce John Kramer in a flashback. She also had a brief sexual encounter with Detective Eric Matthews in the back of a police car, which led to a scandal and his demotion. Despite that, Eric ensured Addison ended up in jail anyway. Gus was a money embezzler, and the glass box trap with the syringe was designed specifically for him, symbolizing the idea of reaching into the cookie jar and getting punished. Laura was in jail for shoplifting, but unlike the others, her specific trap wasn't shown or explained, leaving her role more mysterious. Many fans assume that all the victims were poisoned by the nerve gas, but the film subtly suggests that Amanda was not. She stays strong and alert throughout, while Daniel gradually weakens, especially in the bathroom scene. According to clues in the movie and DVD commentary, Amanda secretly protected Daniel because he was Detective Matthews' son and part of Jigsaw's plan. When Eric searches the first room, the safe is already open, and a syringe is seen on the floor near the basement door, hinting that Amanda used the antidote inside the syringe to help Daniel. These small details show Amanda's hidden role in keeping Daniel alive, proving she was more involved in the game's setup than the others realized. In an earlier version of the film, the trap for Michael was designed differently than what ended up in the final film. Instead of forcing him to cut into his eye to retrieve a key, the original idea was to place the key in one of his hands while keeping both wrists strapped to the chair. Above the hand holding the key, a razor blade was positioned so that every time Michael tried to lift his hand toward the locks on his harness, the blade would dig deeper into his flesh. This setup was meant to create a painful choice, either endure increasing pain to free himself or stay trapped. The concept still reflected Jigsaw's twisted philosophy of sacrifice and survival, but it was eventually changed to the final version seen in the movie. Later on, it is revealed in Saw 3D that Dr. Gordon was the one who put the key behind Michael's eye for the death mask trap. There was a deeper subplot which was originally planned but later cut for time. It showed that Detective Eric Matthews had an affair with his colleague, Detective Carey. This secret relationship caused the breakdown of Eric's marriage and created tension between him and his son, Daniel. As a result, Eric's wife won custody of Daniel, leaving Eric emotionally distant and bitter. Although this storyline was removed from the final film, one subtle hint remained, where Carey makes a quiet remark that Eric already lost his son once before because of her, which nods to their past and adds emotional weight to Eric's desperation during the game. In the early planning stages, the creators had a very different trap in mind for Addison, before settling on the infamous razor box. According to the DVD commentary, she was originally going to wake up shackled to a chair, with razors pressed against her wrists, and any attempt to pull free would slice into her skin. Her tape would accuse her of relying on her looks to survive, subtly implying she was a prostitute, and challenge her to sacrifice her beauty to escape. The only way to unlock the shackles was to press her face against a hot, waffle iron-like grill positioned in front of her. After enduring the pain of cutting her wrist, she would finally slam her face into the grill, freeing herself but leaving her horribly scarred. Although this trap was ultimately scrapped for pacing and production reasons, a similar concept appeared in Saw 4, where Cecil had to push his face through 2 columns of knives to unlock his wrists, again reinforcing Jigsaw's twisted theme of painful sacrifice for survival. Earlier in the film, there's a scene where a SWAT officer steps on a rigged floor panel, triggering a trap that violently shoots forward and breaks his shins. However, in the original concept for this trap, the creators had something even more brutal in mind. A sharp blade was supposed to launch forward instead, slicing off the officer's legs entirely. This version was ultimately changed, likely to avoid going too far with the gore or to make the scene more practical to film. The final version still delivers a shocking injury, but the earlier idea shows just how extreme and graphic the filmmakers were willing to go before settling on a slightly toned-down version. And that wraps up this deep dive into the thrilling horror world of Saw 2. If you enjoyed dissecting the twisted traps, behind-the-scenes secrets, and psychological layers of this flick, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're hungry for more fun facts, deleted scenes, and hidden details from horror, sci-fi, action, and beyond, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay sharp, and we'll see you in the next video.